か待って、知らないイケメンいるんだけど、誰？
いや、俺は。
あ、そうだ。
Yeah, you can tell this girl is a furry when she could turn down this guy.
Gotta go fast. Gotta go fast. Gotta go fast.
We opened this week with our villains, interestingly enough, as Jeep was making the first delivery to the very White House of the Grand Newt world, and I kind of like this little bit of subtle storytelling, with Boca praising Longo and not his daughter, who quickly pointed out that she was the president of the company now. I think this is meant to indicate that he knew that even from a lower position, Longo was always going to be the real boss of the stomach company, and likely only gave his daughter the title of president to get him off his back. Granted, I don't think it sat well with his son-in-law either, but I'm sure he won't go post or anything. I mean, just look at that face. Meanwhile, the riders were recovering from their outright loss to Longo. Lakia was arguably in the worst position, as on top of getting his driver damaged in the battle, more on that later, he was feeling guilty that his original toxins were being used in all of these attacks. In turn, Hanto suggested that they take one of the riskier actions for any superhero team and reveal more about their enemy to the wider public. Yeah, obviously, revealing to everyone that they were in the middle of a real-life invasion of the Body Snatchers might cause a slight bit of mass panic, but with all of the disappearances making news, and now people being confirmed to have been turned into treats, it's not as though they had that much to cover up at this point. With that in mind, Shoma kind of rightfully just gave him the okay to do it, and I'm sure Hanto will be able to accomplish all of that with his little iPad. Which yeah, dude, get a real laptop. I mean, I just use mine as a teleprompter these days. Later, Lakia checked in on Dente, who was creating the antidote to his toxin, but he wasn't able to make much progress. Fortunately, he did have time to make some tools for the riders, which he gave to him, as he did a really corny little drum roll, which I'm almost half convinced was ad-libbed by his voice actor. I mean, don't forget, this guy also did the Japanese dub for Rick Sanchez, so ad-libs are kind of the name of the game. Back with Hanto, he was checking social media to see how much the word about the Grand Newts had already spread, but also got a little sidetracked when he found Shoma's Reddit forums, which were about as friendly as you'd imagine, especially when they were still mixing him up with the bitter Gavs. It also pretty much confirms that this show is indeed a work of fiction if people on social media can actually stick with a topic for more than a few weeks. Meanwhile, said writer tried to look for a portal to the Grand Newt world that the agents might have created, but found nothing, even as he looked through some of the shadiest alleys you could find. Fortunately, likely out of his earlier jealousy of his brother, Jeep gave Shoma direct intel about their next attack. Of course, their next attack just so happened to be at the concert where the man with a race band was playing. And also, yeah, thank you to all the commenters for telling me about this band that they were likely based on. I really could have gone without knowing about this sort of band existing for my entire life. But yeah, they of course tried to convince Ritsu to not go to the concert, which didn't make it through her very stanny ears.
世界が滅びても絶対見に行く。
You say that even as your friends are giving you some very Final Destination-esque premonitions. Also, fun fact, one of the books actually involved a concert accident. In the end, they decided to just let her do her thing, especially after she said that the Kamen Rider would totes be able to save her. Worst vote of confidence ever. That said, she did bring up an intriguing idea of the band giving her the power that she needed to make it through her otherwise very mundane life. Power that Shoma felt like he didn't have any to share after his dressing down by his brother in the last episode. Fortunately, Hanto managed to find some positive comments on social media, which must have taken him like all night to do, but specifically, they were about Shoma, most of them likely from people he had saved. It was a little hard to tell who was who here, other than the VTuber kid. Still, and while this was undoubtedly a really cheesy moment, it was it in the best of ways, as it really highlighted both how much Shoma's heroism had obviously helped and saved people, as well as how his empathy towards them had been an inspiration, as he had even managed to convince that Karen from the first episode that he was a good guy.
感謝しかないです。
And yet you still won't buy your kid that new belt he wants. But yeah, a really heartwarming scene, and as always, it got praise these actors, as you can clearly see the tears just seconds away from falling off Shoma's eyes here, which disappeared in the next cut. Yeah, it would have been nice if we could at least have seen him wipe them away to really hammer all this home, but still, good stuff. With that, the riders made their way to the concert hall. They tried to look for the agents and part-timers, which, yeah, Hanto, I don't think you'll be able to find them in there. And eventually, the concert started. Yeah, so who organized this concert? Yeah, that's what I thought. Nah, of course, it was Stomach Gang starting their operation, but fortunately, Dente had made them gas masks, and they were able to spot the part-timers and agents when they tried to take victims. Hanto and Lakia were able to deal with them mostly off-screen, but without too much issue, aside from Lakia's belt finally falling apart from the damage Longo had done to it. And speaking of whom, Shoma confronted his brother directly. Here, he gave what could be best described as his big rider speech moment, where the lead rider puts all of their cards on the table and iterates their ideologies. In this case, he explained how he could give a damn about what his brother thought of him, and even if people continued to look down on him or even treat him like a monster, he would still fight for humanity because there was just as many people who he had helped and give better lives to, and in turn, they'd given him kindness and food to live off of. From there, he gave his brother a much-deserved dissing, and then... Equally moved by his words, the Gochipod unlocked its full capacity, and frankly, a way better looking final form, Master. Like, don't get me wrong, I don't hate Over's design, but I also much prefer the final rider forms to look more like a souped up version of their base forms to really highlight their connection to where they started from and where they are now. And Master Gavv just had an awesome debut in which he was able to show off that it was kind of the opposite of Over, as it was insanely fast, being able to easily outpace Longo. It did come at the cost of the absolute brute strength and tankiness of the other forms, but that was a bit of a non-issue, as not only were his punches still plenty strong and could rapid fire now, he could also just quick switch the Over form whenever the enemy's defenses were down. It made this final form quite interesting, as it was basically running on a give and take system. Sure, generally, it was just better to use Master, as it also had access to all of the powers of his other forms, but as long as he had free hand, he could also deal some easy critical damage. And he really dealt it out, as on top of scarring Longo's eye, Shoma sent him flying and seemingly killed him, at least according to Jeep, who had quite the reaction to it. Like, I think he's both happy that his brother is seemingly dead, but also maybe disappointed that he didn't get to do the final blow. Either way though, yeah, I'm not believing for a second that Longo is gone, as one, they wouldn't just commission a new scarred eye mask if they were just going to immediately kill off the character, and two, I almost feel like he used this as an opportunity to fake his death, perhaps as a little gambit to get back his company. We'll see, but for now, the episode just kind of ended with Ritsune having enjoyed her concert, even though she was kind of out of it for the first half. This was an excellent debut for Shoma's true final form, especially after it came after some good character moments. Really, this is pretty much all about our lead rider, by being a bit of a celebration of all of his accomplishments up until now. Not that the other characters didn't get anything at all, as some of the other subplots are starting to develop in some interesting ways. I guess after a few weeks where the villains got a little more attention, it only made sense to put the spotlight on the title character of the show. And in general, Shoma just had a great showing this week, as even though his brother's hurtful words did ring in his ears, he still remained focused on his mission that was partially done for him by his other brother, though at least that did add to the Stomach family's ongoing downfall. He also probably could have handled a few negative comments on social media, but Hanto did remain a good friend, and did show him the thing that he needed to see the most at that moment, positive reinforcement, which has been a major theme of this series. Whenever the riders have been down, they've always shown each other empathy, and now the people they've saved were joining in on that. This also had some perfect thematic timing, as it aligned with Shoma's Gochipod unlocking its true power through the unity of the 100 Gochizo in it. Said true power was just amazing, and really highlighted how effectively it could be used by taking down someone as strong as Longo. Granted, again, I don't believe for a second that he's gone, as more likely going to use this defeat to his advantage in some way. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, I'm not gonna let that happen so easily. Regardless, it was a fantastic fight to really get across how powerful the Master was, and overall, this is just a great debut for an awesome final form, and topper for Shoma's arc for now. Though next week, it looks like we're going to go back to the Starbucks for a little bit, as well as Hanto, who, oh boy. Thanks for watching, and if we've made a difference in your lives, well, honestly, I'm glad we have. I mean, honestly, I really appreciate y'all just watching our videos, so all I can really say now is, thanks for watching. So, look forward to whatever comes next. Until then, though, for now, my friends, and, hey, where'd my penny go?